while most of America was sipping cocoa and wrapping gifts on Christmas Eve. One rookie quarterback was locked in, grinding alone in the freezing cold, training like his career depended on it. That quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Yes, son of primetime and now, possibly the future face of a cursed NFL franchise. But this isn't just some feel-good, rookie working hard kind of story. What happened at the Cleveland Browns practice facility on December 24, 2024, is sparking debate, speculation, and straight-up disbelief across the football world. Because what leaked from that practice wasn't normal. Analysts are obsessing over every frame, fans are swarming social media, and former players are whispering the one thing no one ever says in Cleveland. They might have found their guy. You'd think it was just a few practice clips. But if you look deeper, it's clear. Something more happened that day. A broken franchise might have just stumbled into salvation. And a quarterback many doubted is now being treated like a chosen one, quietly, confidently, and without apology. But how did this all happen? How did the son of one of football's flashiest legends become the heartbeat of the league's least lucky team? It all starts with understanding what Cleveland has been through. And how Shedeur Sanders might be everything they never saw coming. There's a reason Cleveland didn't celebrate when Shedeur Sanders was drafted. Not with champagne, not with optimism, not even with cautious hope. Because for Browns fans, hope has always come with an expiration date. And quarterbacks, those are the ghosts that haunt this franchise. The city has lived through over 2 decades of Sunday letdowns, empty promises, and jersey swaps that became memes. You don't celebrate the next quarterback. You brace yourself for the crash. Since returning to the NFL in 1999, the Browns have burned through quarterbacks like most people burn through coffee filters. Names that once carried promise are now just punchlines in Cleveland bars. Tim Couch, a #1 overall pick, offered promise. Until the injuries came. The hits kept piling up, both literal and metaphorical. From there, it was a revolving door. Brady Quinn came with college stats and a sculpted jawline, gone before anyone could memorize his jersey number. Brandon Weeden was 28 when he got drafted, older than some of the coaches. He was supposed to bring maturity. All he brought were interceptions. Then came Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, a walking headline who brought flash, chaos, and ultimately, disaster. He was the kind of quarterback made for Instagram and tabloids, not clinical precision under center. What followed was more of the same: Deshaun Kaiser, Colt McCoy, Seneca Wallace, Charlie Fry. If the names are starting to blur together, that's the point. Cleveland never had the guy. Just waves of temporary solutions, none of which ever panned out. And then the Browns went all in. Not like before. This was different. The kind of leap only a desperate franchise takes. They mortgaged the future for Deshaun Watson, giving up first-round picks, mega deals, and what was left of their fan base's patience. Over $230 million, fully guaranteed. The controversy was instant. Watson arrived under a legal cloud that split both the league and its audience. But the team looked at raw talent and believed they could weather the storm. They believed they were buying a finished product, a savior. Instead, they got dysfunction wrapped in disappointment. Time missed. Chemistry never found. Injuries, mounting tension in the locker room. The press conferences became harder to spin, the headlines darker, and the wins weren't there to hide behind. Whatever trust existed between the fanbase and the front office, gone. It wasn't just that Watson underperformed. It was how much he cost, not just in money or picks, but in identity. The Browns, once seen as the league's lovable underdogs, were now something worse, desperate villains in their own story. It's rare for a team to admit when it screwed up. Even rarer to admit it this severely. Cutting ties with Watson wasn't just a personnel decision, it was a public confession. The Browns had finally reached rock bottom and had no choice but to start climbing back up. That's when things took a turn, quietly, without hype, without banners or fanfare. Shedeur Sanders entered the picture not as a savior, but as a symbol of a restart. He wasn't supposed to be the answer. He was just supposed to be different, a fresh face, a new chapter. The pick shocked a lot of insiders, not because of his talent, but because he wasn't part of the Browns' plan. Fans were still burnt from their last quarterback experiment. They didn't want another kid, another maybe, but this wasn't another kid. What most outsiders didn't see, and what Cleveland's inner circle did, was this. Shedeur didn't arrive with swagger alone. He arrived with scars, with lessons, with pressure. The kind of pressure most rookie QBs haven't even imagined. And despite all of it, he kept walking like nothing fazed him. This is a franchise that has tasted every flavor of failure. It has been ridiculed by the media, ignored by the league, and abandoned by hope. If pain could build a resume, Cleveland would have a dynasty. And it's because of that history, because of that shared wound, that what we're seeing now feels significant, feels real. Because for the first time in years, something's changed. Look at the players on the practice field. Look at how they respond to Shedeur. There's no doubt in their eyes, no hesitation. They're not running routes like it's just another warm-up. They're locked in, following his cadence, matching his energy. And that footage from Christmas Eve, it didn't just blow up online because it showed great footwork. It blew up because people saw something this city hasn't had in decades: belief. You can feel it growing, not in the headline pages, but in locker room whispers, in front office side comments, in radio hosts who suddenly sound careful. Nobody wants to jinx it. And yet, you can't ignore it. Shedeur is everything this franchise said it wanted, but could never quite find. He's not flashy in the way Manziel was. He's not brittle like Kaiser or confused like Whedon. He's ready in a way that doesn't feel forced. Here's the truth. This rookie didn't walk into Cleveland hoping to fill shoes. He walked in already knowing what size he wore. What happens next? Nobody's sure. But in a city where quarterback jerseys usually represent broken promises, Shedeur might just be the first name you don't want to take off the wall. When the Browns called Shedeur Sanders name on draft night, most of the football world did a double take. Not because they didn't think he'd go in the first round, but because Cleveland wasn't supposed to be the one that took him. The spotlight was supposed to shine somewhere else, somewhere more conventional. Maybe a franchise with a cleaner record, a more stable system, and a better track record with developing young QBs. But the Browns weren't reading from the same script as everyone else. They were flipping it. And behind that flip was one name that kept popping up behind the scenes: Mike Tomlin. All through the pre-draft process, the rumors started building like pressure behind a dam. Whispers of private meetings, high praise from respected voices, and one team kept circling back: the Pittsburgh Steelers. Inside NFL circles, everyone knew Tomlin loved Shedeur Sanders, respected his film, raved about the way he handled pressure and adversity. Some insiders even described it as borderline obsession. Everyone assumed it was a lock. Shedeur would end up under one of the most respected head coaches in the league, in a system that could protect him while maximizing his strengths. But that's not what happened, because not everyone in the Steelers building was fully on board. Reports say that while Tomlin was pushing for Sanders behind closed doors, others in Pittsburgh's front office weren't fully sold. Concerns about system fit, doubts about whether Shedeur's success was a product of his father's influence or real NFL-ready talent. It created a fracture that ultimately pushed the Steelers to walk away from their prize. And just like that, Cleveland was there to pick up the so-called question mark and turn him into the weapon no one saw coming. Think about that. One of the most respected coaches in the NFL was ready to put his name on the line to draft Shedeur Sanders. And his own franchise blinked. Now, months removed from that decision, he's watching from the rival's sideline as the Browns prepare to potentially light up the team that said no. The poetic symmetry of this moment doesn't feel like a coincidence. It feels like fate teeing up a revenge game with perfect timing. What the Steelers saw as risk, the Browns saw as a calculated gamble worth taking. And from the moment Sanders stepped onto Cleveland's practice field, something changed. Coaches aren't talking in hypotheticals when they mention him, they speak with clarity, confidence, as if they've seen enough. That's rare. Rookies typically walk in and wear their nerves like a second jersey. Not Sanders. He walked into camp with the snap count already in his voice. His transition from college to pro didn't come with the awkward stutter you usually see. No deer in the headlights moments. No viral footage of missed installs. Instead, what insiders saw was a quarterback who already understood the bigger picture. Not just the playbook, but the job, the pressure, the rhythm, the leadership. People forget, Shedeur wasn't just another solid athlete coming out of college. He played under a national spotlight, with non-stop media pressure tethered to his last name. Some thought playing under Dayan at Colorado would be a distraction, but in reality, it hardened him. It raised the floor of what he could mentally handle. And in Cleveland, he arrived with thick skin and sharper edges. He entered the league not as a naive rookie, but as someone who had been under a microscope for years and learned to thrive under it. By the time organized team activities rolled around, Sanders wasn't floating in reps with second or third string units. He was working almost exclusively with the ones. Timing routes, red zone reps, blitz pickups, Every part of Kevin Stefanski's offense was getting filtered through Shedeur's lens. Not because the coaching staff wanted a headline, but because they wanted chemistry. Real, in-game chemistry before the numbers started counting. He wasn't waiting for his shot down the line. He was being treated like the leader of the team right now. It was subtle things that made it obvious. The way skill position players stayed late with him after practice. The way veteran linemen would check in with him before reps. The way Stefanski kept leaning on him when breaking down team meetings. That doesn't happen if you're waiting to see. That happens when a franchise is moving, finally, in one clear direction, with one guy at the wheel. That's the difference between being a draft pick and being the pick. And what happens when you finally give a team like Cleveland a real identity at quarterback? The locker room resets. A team finds its voice. Veterans stop checking their watches in year 7, wondering if it's time to chase a ring elsewhere. Young guys buy in. It's hard to understate what that kind of clarity does to a franchise that has spent decades stuck in the fog. But for Shedeur, it goes deeper than proving he belongs in the league. There's something quietly personal about the way he's carrying himself. You can tell he's still aware of every room that doubted him, every comment that diminished him by crediting his father for everything he's built. Draft position aside, Sanders is moving like a guy who knows he shouldn't even have fallen as far as he did. He's playing angry, but not loud. Focused, controlled, dialed in. The difference now is that Cleveland, for maybe the first time in its modern history, is giving a quarterback the confidence of silence. No quarterback competitions, no short leashes, no press conference drama, just a locker room led by a young man who gets it. And that Steelers game everyone's circling on the calendar, it's not just a test, it's personal. Because when Shedeur lines up under center that night, he won't just be attacking a division rival. He'll be facing the team that had him gift-wrapped and let him walk. And if you think he forgot about that, you're not paying attention. It started with a few blurry practice clips. Nothing official, nothing glossy, just some raw footage that somehow escaped the Browns' facility on Christmas Eve. No full plays, no audio. Just angles of Shedeur running through progressions, dropping dimes on timing routes, checking protections, and moving with a kind of decisiveness that felt different. Within hours, that footage had gone viral. NFL analysts were zooming into clips frame by frame like they were decoding Pentagon surveillance. Former players dropped commentary breakdowns like post-game film sessions. Fans across the league were flooding timelines, arguing in replies, digging into every motion like it carried prophecy. Because people weren't just seeing good passing form. They were seeing something Cleveland hasn't had in decades, command. This wasn't just another rookie throwing pretty balls in shorts. It was something else entirely. It looked like a franchise quarterback being born in real time, on the coldest day of the year, while most of the league was drinking eggnog. And the setting made it even more cinematic. Freezing air, bare practice fields, no spotlight. The Browns didn't film this with promotion in mind. It wasn't some hype trailer for social media. That's what made it so powerful. It was real, unfiltered, and unmistakably focused. Almost like someone accidentally pulled the curtain back on something we weren't supposed to see yet. What stood out wasn't just mechanics. It was movement, poise, presence. Shedeur walked like he was already in full control of the huddle, calling out adjustments pre-snap, changing blocking assignments, timing up with first-team receivers like they were already halfway through a season. What scared some fans, in the best way, was how not nervous he looked. This wasn't a wide-eyed rookie dipping his toe in elite waters. This was someone swimming like he belonged there. And the setting mattered more than people think. This is Cleveland, a team buried by instability. A front office that knows all too well how quickly public perception can shift from savior to bust. So the Browns don't give you the keys unless they're ready to go all in. No split reps, no safe rollout plan, no drama, just full-speed commitment, and Shedeur is the engine. The fact that he was working with the full first-team offense during a holiday practice says more than a press conference ever could. Veteran players don't stick around on Christmas Eve unless something serious is happening. Reps don't get allocated to a rookie unless the coaching staff's made up its mind. And guys don't lean in like this unless they believe. And let's not forget what's waiting on the other side of this preparation. The Steelers, the team that almost had him, the coach who pounded the table. The front office that blinked and let a division rival scoop up a quarterback who now looks like he could change the AFC North. You can't script a better setup. What's even more fascinating is how completely Shedeur's mindset has shifted since leaving Colorado. In college, he was active online, engaging with fans, trolling doubters, flashing jewelry and his growing brand. None of it felt inauthentic. He was his father's son, full of swagger, never afraid to lean into the spotlight. And why not? He'd earned that stage. But in Cleveland, it's like someone turned the volume down. Not because he's hiding, but because he's leveling up. The tweets are rare now. The Instagram posts feel calculated, purposeful. No captions shouting about doubters. No sideline selfies. Mostly gratitude. Some promo for his brand, and that's it. Because for Shedeur, the proving ground isn't digital anymore, it's under center. And Cleveland, of all places, seems to bring out that version of him. There's something about this city's underdog mentality that he's tapping into. It's like the noise of the league got filtered out the moment he stepped on that practice field. And the silence? That's where he's doing the real work. Even his brand, too legendary, is evolving alongside him. It'd be easy to call it a side hustle, but that would miss the point. It's not just merch, it's strategy, a way to build community, identity, and loyalty without having to say too much. Fans aren't just buying into the gear, they're buying into him, into what he represents, into what he might become, and they're buying in fast. Sales are reportedly through the roof. Special drops are selling out in minutes. And unlike a lot of rookies who sign deals without direction, Shedeur's actively curating his brand. Every post, every design, every piece of content, he's learning that being a quarterback in today's NFL is bigger than football. It's image, psychology, perception. It's knowing when to speak and when to let your silence do the talking. And right now, he's strategically quiet. That's not just maturity, it's intention. For the Browns, that kind of self-awareness matters more than fans might realize. This isn't a market where mistakes stay buried. One bad quote, one reckless post-game moment becomes a headline for days, especially when you're branded before you've earned it. That's why Cleveland has been cautious with young quarterbacks in the past. Nobody wants another distraction disguised as a leader. But Shedeur, he's showing early on that he's not here to go viral. He's here to win. And that moment, the one on Christmas Eve, that's when the narrative started to shift. Because there, in the grainy footage and pre-snap cadence, fans didn't just see a rookie QB getting reps, they saw a future. One that no longer includes failure. One that doesn't circle every game day full of dread. One where, just maybe, the Browns found someone who doesn't need the spotlight, because he's becoming it. There's a moment in every rookie quarterback's debut season where the narrative starts to form, not from fans, not from the front office, but from the voices that echo across NFL media. And for Shedeur Sanders, that moment hit right after the Buffalo game. The hype around the practice tape was still buzzing, but now came the first real test. A defense that doesn't care about your college stats. A game plan designed specifically to confuse you. A swarm of pressure, disguised looks, and veteran DBs waiting to bait a rookie into big mistakes. And against all that chaos, Shedeur didn't fold. This is where analysts started to really pay attention. J.J. Watt, a future Hall of Famer who's seen more rookie quarterbacks flame out than most scouts ever will, had a take that caught people off guard. He wasn't overly dramatic. He didn't call Shedeur the next Mahomes or throw around impossible comparisons. But what he did say was simple and loud in its own way. He called it resilience. Watt broke down Sanders' performance with the kind of detail that only someone who's lined up against elite quarterbacks can offer. He pointed out how Buffalo's game plan was deliberately built to eliminate big plays, take away the vertical threat, prevent Sanders from opening up the field, force him underneath, make him uncomfortable, see if he panics. But he didn't. Instead of trying to force throws down the sideline or squeeze dangerous balls into shrinking windows, Sanders played smart, methodical, conservative even. He took checkdowns, hit running backs in the flat, took a few hits and popped right back up. He didn't light up the stat sheet or drop anyone's jaw with 60-yard bombs, but what he did was harder. He showed discipline. He played grown man football. And for a rookie quarterback on a struggling team, that's not something you often see in December. There was one detail J.J. Watt mentioned that really shook up the conversation. Late in the game, in a play that barely got coverage, Shedeur injured his pinky finger. Badly. One of those grimace-level injuries that quarterbacks can't just shake off. The tip, reportedly, nearly hanging off. The kind of thing that would send most rookies straight to the bench with a towel over their head. But Shedeur, he taped it up and kept playing. That moment hit different. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't in a highlight clip, but toughness like that earns respect in loud, unspoken ways. Coaches notice. Teammates remember. And veterans rally behind you, not because you said the right thing in a press conference, but because you refused to quit when it counted. That was Shedeur's message. No words, just tape it and go. Then came the Pat McAfee show. Nobody captures the pulse of football culture like McAfee. He's loud, opinionated, and plugged in without pretending to be traditional. And his take on Shedeur and the Browns wasn't analytical, it was emotional. Growing up in Pittsburgh, McAfee said you're raised to despise Cleveland. You clown the Browns. It's part of the DNA. But then he shared something that turned heads. On a visit to the city recently, and after watching Shedeur's tape, he said he was legit surprised. Not just by the quarterback, but by Cleveland itself. The stadium, the energy, the way the town has quietly become something more than just a punchline. And that matters, because love it or not, perception drives pressure in this league. What people say, what they expect, those things shape how rookies are evaluated even before they take the field. Most people never gave Cleveland a shot at turning things around, especially so soon after the Watson disaster. But now, guys like McAfee are changing the tone. Still, not every voice is on board. One well-connected Browns insider, someone who's been following the team closely for years, delivered a more critical perspective. His frustration wasn't with Shedeur. It was with how the coaching staff is deploying him. Why so many checkdowns? Why the tight leash? Why is a quarterback with proven arm strength and aggressive instincts being forced to play small? His take was this: if you want to evaluate a rookie quarterback, let him take shots. Put him in position to fail, because that's how you find out how high the ceiling really is. Anyone can hit the flat. Anyone can dink and dunk. But stretch the field, and now you're forcing defenses to adjust. You're showing who this kid can really be in 2 or 3 years. His concern was simple but sharp. By protecting Shedeur too much, are the Browns accidentally slowing his development? It's a fair question, but the counter-argument is just as strong. One league analyst pushed back with this: the Browns' coaching staff isn't limiting Sanders, they're giving him a foundation. Throwing rookies into the fire is what used to happen. Now, teams are smarter. By starting conservative, you teach quarterbacks how to manage a game, how to make the right reads, how to control momentum. And when the team is already fragile like Cleveland, chaos isn't helpful. Consistency is. What Sanders showed against Buffalo wasn't passivity, it was poise. The guy everyone thought was just another big arm, QB embraced the art of patience. He didn't panic. He didn't freelance. He looked like a professional quarterback running a professional offense in just his second real NFL appearance. You can't teach that, so the debate continues. Is Shedeur being carefully molded into a long-term star, or is he being overly managed, held back by coaching staff afraid to let him loose? Maybe the answer is somewhere in between. But what's clear now is this: the football world is watching closely. The believers are starting to speak up. The skeptics, they're getting quieter. And the analysts with years of footage, decades of experience, even they can't deny it anymore. Something's happening in Cleveland. And at the center of it all is a 22-year-old kid with a busted pinky, a quiet social media presence, and a grip on the Browns franchise that's getting stronger by the week. There's a reason quarterback debates eat up more airtime than any other position in football, because it's never just about the numbers. It's about what the numbers mean and what they don't tell you. That's exactly where Shedeur Sanders finds himself now. In the eye of a growing divide between analysts, coaches, and fans who all see something different when they look at the same performances. Some see a rookie managing the game wisely. Others see a potential superstar being overly sheltered. And that debate, it reached full boil after his start against the Buffalo Bills. On paper, his performance looked average. Nothing flashy. No highlight reel bombs, no drive-defining scramble plays. But if you watched closely, like a growing number of insiders did, it told a different story. Shedeur took what the defense gave him. He read coverages pre-snap, shifted protections, adjusted quickly, and got the ball out with decisiveness. He didn't throw into dangerous windows. He didn't try to be a hero. And that's exactly what some critics took issue with. One Browns insider described the game plan as too conservative, even timid. He argued that handing the offense over to Shedeur didn't mean just playing it safe. It meant actually trusting him to make the throws that test defenses, the throws that stretch the field, the ones with risk and reward. Because until you see those, how do you know what you really have? The argument wasn't that Sanders played poorly, it's that he wasn't being allowed to play fully. Checkdowns might move chains, sure. But do they show whether you have a future Pro Bowl quarterback or just another safe decision maker that defenses can eventually figure out? But there's a counter to that take, and it's not coming from armchair fans or Twitter analysts. It's coming from respected veterans who understand what early quarterback development really looks like. Their position is clear. Teaching patience at the start is a sign of maturity, not limitation. Great quarterbacks don't start by showing off. They start by proving they can exist within a system. The rookies who flame out don't fail because they lack one signature skill, they fail because they never learn restraint. And what Shedeur displayed against one of the tougher defenses in the league wasn't fear, it was control. He got the play in, read the defense, found his outlet, and made smart decisions repeatedly against pressure. One analyst put it bluntly, you can't ask a rookie quarterback to survive in chaos if you've never taught him how to win in structure. But then came the comparisons, and this is where things got interesting. Dillon Gabriel, another rookie QB who didn't get nearly the same pre-draft hype as Shedeur, started getting mentioned in the same breath. Analysts loved how Gabriel refused to force throws early in games. He'd rack up 5-yard gains, 10-yard outs, simple checkdowns. And those same people praised it as smart football, saying he was playing within himself and letting the game come to him. But with Shedeur, that same strategy drew criticism. Suddenly it became passive, restricted, or low risk, low reward. Why the double standard? Some say it's the pressure of his last name. Others argue it's the pre-draft politics. That because some teams passed on Sanders when he dropped into Cleveland's lap, they now feel the need to justify it by downplaying his current performance. But there's also another possibility, one less talked about, but more true. Shedeur came in with real expectations. Not just as a top-round pick, but as a player people assumed would be a flashier, more dynamic version of his father's legacy. They expected prime-time energy in the pocket. Gunslinger aggression, risk, electricity, and what they got was something completely different, calm execution. So now there's a recalibration happening in real time. People are starting to realize that maybe Shedeur isn't the quarterback they thought he'd be, he might be something even better. He's not trying to break the game open on every snap. He's trying to win. And the more you watch, the more you notice the subtle mastery of it all. The way he manipulates safeties with his eyes. The way he resets his feet under pressure. The way he throws with anticipation, not just looking where his receivers are, but where they're going to be a second from now. These aren't traits that show up on stat sheets. These are the things that offensive coordinators build game plans around once they trust a quarterback. And in quiet moments, it's becoming clear the Browns' coaching staff already does. There will be a time when Shedeur is told to push the ball deeper. It's coming. But right now, they're building his foundation the right way. Fine-tuning decision-making, sharpening reads, giving him the reins slowly but securely. It might not feel like fireworks yet, but this is how elite quarterbacks are made, not in chaos, not by rushing, but by transforming discipline into dominance. And when that leash finally gets removed, that's when we'll find out just how far Sanders can really go. But where he is right now, caught in the tension between held back and holding back, says more about his maturity than anyone realizes. How many rookies would even tolerate a scaled-down version of themselves for the sake of steady growth? The ones that last do. So say what you want about checkdowns, short passes, or safe calls, every NFL quarterback has to master the basics before they can graduate to greatness. What Shedeur Sanders is showing isn't hesitation. It's patience. It's control. And maybe the biggest story of all is that he's the one choosing it. Because when the time comes to uncork that deep ball and let everything loose, he'll be ready, and the league won't be. In today's NFL, being great on the field is only half the job. The rest, that's business. That's image. That's understanding the spotlight and knowing how to own it without letting it own you. And Shedeur Sanders, he might already be better at that than 90% of the league. Long before his first NFL snap, Shedeur knew he wasn't walking into the league as just another rookie quarterback. He wasn't a nameless prospect slipping into the background of mini-camps and depth charts. He came in with attention, with weight, with expectations that were larger than football. The name Sanders doesn't arrive quietly. And Shedeur made sure he didn't just carry that name, he leveraged it. Enter Too Legendary. It's more than a clothing line. It's more than merch. It's a vision. A statement, a brand that reflects exactly how Shedeur sees himself, not as just a good player, but as part of something bigger, something iconic. And here's the part that shocks people, it's actually working. Not because he's loud about it, but because he's done it right. He's not plastering links all over interviews. He's not using every post-game clip as an ad. He's doing what real businessmen do, creating silent demand, by being selective, by being intentional. and by letting the product and the performance drive the emotion behind the brand. Two legendary started slow, like most rookie ventures. A few early drops, some logo-heavy t-shirts, but after being drafted, it took off. Within weeks, product lines were backordered. Social media sales were climbing weekly, fans were buying in before Shedeur had even won a snap or torched a defense, because it wasn't about what he'd done yet. It was about what he represented. Hope, swagger, change. These weren't just Browns fans looking to rep their new quarterback. This was a movement from casual followers to committed supporters. Even fans of other teams were buying into the image of Shedeur Sanders, the modern NFL QB, smart, composed, and fully in control of his narrative. And it's that control that might be the most surprising part. Shedeur isn't using his social media accounts like typical 22-year-old athletes. There are no emotional outbursts, no clapping back at media, no bait tweets calling out fan bases. He posts when it matters. He says less, but somehow it hits harder. Photos from training, snippets from workouts, a sharp quote here, a gratitude-filled message there, updates when a new collection drops, and then silence. He's letting the work do the talking, the brand doing the building, and it's working because everything feels aligned. The attitude on the field translates off of it. The way he leads in the huddle matches how he operates with business decisions. The discipline in studying tape mirrors the way he manages his public image. There's no disconnect, no phony marketing mask. It's all the same guy on and off the field. Ask anyone who studies NFL branding and they'll tell you, most rookies don't think about this stuff until it's too late. They come in hot, sign quick endorsement deals, rent flash for the cameras, and watch it all crash the moment a few losses stack up. Social capital burns fast when it's based on nothing but image. That's not the case here. Shedeur is building something sustainable, something with layers, something primed for influence, not just popularity. In the locker room, that translates. Players notice when a rookie can handle pressure, avoid distractions, and stay focused without being isolated. Veterans respect that. They've seen enough flashy quarterbacks come and go, guys who want cameras more than coverages. The fact that Shedeur is pulling this much off the field without letting it affect his mentality on it. That's rare, that's leadership. Even Kevin Stefanski, a quiet and methodical coach known for keeping things close to the chest, has reportedly praised Shedeur's discipline behind closed doors. Not just in how he prepares for games, but how he handles what comes with being the face of something bigger than himself. A franchise, a movement, a city looking for someone to believe in again. And that's exactly what makes Too Legendary more than just a clever concept. It feels earned. Fans don't look at it and roll their eyes the way they do when struggling rookies try to sell hoodies 2 weeks into a losing streak. Shedeur isn't selling hype. He's selling accountability, ambition, and ownership of a legacy he's built in his own name, even while carrying the weight of a legendary one. And let's be honest, that's not easy. Being Deion Sanders, son gets you through a few doors, sure, but it also paints a giant bullseye on your back. Every time Shedeur fails, there's an army of doubters lined up to say it's only because of his father that he's even in the league. Every mistake gets magnified. Every success, dismissed as privilege. So how has he responded? By grinding. By shutting up and working harder than everyone else in the room. By redefining what it means to inherit a name, not by writing it, but by outgrowing it. He could have come out swinging, making bold proclamations, promising playoff wins and revenge on the teams that passed on him. Instead, he got quiet, focused, hungry. A rookie quarterback building not just a playbook, but an empire, one post, one drop, one perfectly timed rollout at a time. And the more he plays, the more that brand stops being just a business and starts becoming something fans identify with. Because Shedeur isn't just putting on for himself. He's putting on for every underdog who's had their identity questioned, for every athlete who wants to control their image without selling their soul, for every fan base that's looked at their team's quarterback and thought, he's not built for this. In Cleveland, they're starting to think the opposite. And it's not because of a catchphrase, it's because of the quiet kid wearing the crown you never saw coming. What separates good quarterbacks from great ones? It's not always arm talent. Not just speed, accuracy, or even stats. It's something harder to measure, but impossible to miss when you see it. It's how they think. And Shedeur Sanders, the game moves slower for him, but not because it's easy, because he's always one step ahead. Go ask any former quarterback, coach, or coordinator what truly defines a franchise quarterback. They won't say throw power. They'll talk about decision-making, mental processing, the ability to diagnose a defense before the ball is even snapped. and then adjust on the fly when everything changes the moment it is. That's where Shedeur is already showing signs of greatness. From the moment he stepped into that huddle, something felt different. There wasn't hesitation in his eyes. There wasn't panic in his voice. He wasn't memorizing plays, he was understanding them. Watching him operate pre-snap tells the story better than the box score ever could. He reads the safety shell, identifies the mic, checks protection without being told. He's already seeing what most rookies still don't understand. And when the ball is snapped, that calm doesn't go away, it intensifies. You can watch the footage. His eyes don't lock onto one target. He works through progressions, checks his outlet, moves defenders with his vision. He's not playing backyard football, he's playing structure. He's living inside the playbook and making it breathe. This kind of mental calm isn't normal for a rookie. It's earned. It comes from reps most quarterbacks never get before the lights hit, from years of preparation under more pressure than most young athletes ever face. Because while Shedeur may technically be an NFL rookie, he's already lived a life under a microscope. Being the son of Dayan, primetime, Sanders isn't just about legacy. It's about expectations so heavy they could crush most young players before their careers even start. Every move he makes gets compared. Every throw analyzed through the filter of a family name built on greatness and charisma. For a long time, people assumed he was a product of his name, a quarterback hand delivered to the spotlight. But here's the truth. Shedeur hasn't run from those shadows. He's grown through them. What most people don't realize is just how calculated Dayan Sanders has been, not just in coaching, but in parenting. Dayan doesn't raise flashy, he raises focused. When the lights go off and the cameras are gone, what's left is work. Tape, long hours, repetition, film room conversations, leadership talks, business strategy. From a young age, Shedeur was being groomed for moments like this, not with a silver spoon, but with a standard. Dayan taught him how to handle praise and how to live through criticism. More importantly, how to tune both out. And you can see that mental strength manifesting in every post-game interview, every press conference answer, every snap under pressure. It's not arrogance, it's control. Cleveland's locker room, despite its past turbulence, has quietly fallen in line behind him. Not because he's loud, but because he listens. Because he owns the huddle, but still listens to veterans. Because he leads with accountability. Guys in that building talk about his work ethic first, not his last name. They say he shows up early, stays late, and holds himself to the same standard on Tuesday morning walkthroughs as he does during Sunday red zones. That matters, especially when you're the youngest leader in the room. Leadership at quarterback isn't just about calling the play. It's about belief, command, conviction. The guy who walks into the huddle and everyone just follows because they trust him. Because even when things get messy, his voice doesn't crack. His body language doesn't shift. And when he makes a mistake, he owns it. Sanders has already had those moments this season, moments where rookies usually melt down, a missed read, a blown protection, a dropped third down throw. But what happens next is what stands out. No finger pointing, no blame. He straps the helmet back up and drives the offense again. And again. Every great quarterback tells you that adversity isn't a surprise, it's part of the job. But very few embrace it their rookie year the way Shedeur has. The mental wear and tear of being an NFL quarterback is brutal. Defenses disguise everything. Blitzes come from ghost angles. Everyone you face is faster, smarter, and more disciplined than in college. You don't get time to adjust. You either evolve or dissolve. But so far, Sanders is showing exactly why Cleveland believed in his mental framework more than just the highlight throws. Because being a franchise QB is 90% decision-making. Arm talent gets you buzz. Discipline gets you wins. And while he's shown he can deliver touchdowns, it's the intangibles that make people whisper that he might be special. Imagine this, a 22-year-old quarterback with the pressure of a famous father stepping into a losing franchise carrying the weight of belief and choosing calm, choosing patience, choosing system over chaos. Not because he doesn't know how to perform, but because he knows how dangerous the right foundation can be when it's built to last. That's what's really scaring opposing teams. This isn't just another highly touted rookie relying on athleticism or good press. This is a leader, a strategist, a player who understands his moment and isn't letting it overwhelm him. Because while other rookies are racing to prove something, Shedeur is just preparing. Quietly, confidently. Like someone who already knows his future isn't based on hype. It's already written in how he moves. It always comes back to the one that let you walk away. For Shedeur Sanders, that team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, the franchise that studied him, scouted him, argued over him behind closed doors. The franchise that many believed would be the perfect fit, a respected coach in Mike Tomlin who reportedly fought hard behind the scenes, a quarterback-needy team, and a system built for precision and discipline. It made too much sense until it didn't. Because while Tomlin reportedly wanted him, the front office didn't see it. They hesitated. They reached for a different vision, a safer pick, a quarterback they could shape. And across the division, the Cleveland Browns, the one franchise more beaten and battered than anyone, did what Pittsburgh wouldn't. They said yes. And now they're preparing to unleash him against the very team that left him on the board. In a league filled with scripted storylines and forced rivalries, this one writes itself. A rookie quarterback, once sought by the Steelers, now wearing orange and brown, walking into enemy territory not for a preseason audition, but for a statement game. A divisional clash. Playoff implications, national eyes, and personal receipts. Because don't be fooled by Sanders' quiet demeanor. He remembers. You don't grow up in Deion Sanders' household and not take slights personally. He may not tweet about it, may not post a hype video or call anyone out by name. But make no mistake, this moment matters. The Browns knew what they were doing. They gave him first-team reps not just to develop rhythm, but to build urgency. They trusted his leadership not just to calm the locker room, but to inject a winning mentality into it. They named him the guy not because of a branding opportunity, but because behind the scenes, he won them over from day one, with his knowledge, his control, his hunger. And now he's walking into Acrisure Stadium, formerly Heinz Field, not as a prospect, but as the face of Cleveland's future. This isn't just another game on the schedule. It's legacy on the line. There's history here. Pittsburgh and Cleveland aren't rivals just on paper. They've been at war for decades, the Steelers, the blueprint of stability and tradition. The Browns, a collage of chaos, heartbreak, and regret. One team has built Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The other has barely built continuity. And now, the rookie Pittsburgh didn't want just might be the turning point in flipping the script. And the irony? It couldn't be louder. Mike Tomlin, the coach who reportedly saw something in Sanders before anyone else, now has to figure out how to stop him, scheme against him, pressure him, rattle him, strip away all the fluidity and silence that made Shedeur so dangerous these past few weeks and force him into rookie mistakes. Pittsburgh's defense isn't cute. It's angry, physical, built to break rhythm and punish quarterbacks who have even a moment of hesitation. The looks will be disguised. The pressure, fast, nothing will come easy. But then again, when has anything been easy for Sanders? The pressure of legacy, the weight of expectations, the skepticism of being Deion's son, the whispers that he wasn't ready, the claim that he looked good only because of his father or his brand or his media presence. He's heard it all. And responded the same way every time, preparation. This game is different. This isn't practice footage going viral. This isn't a clip floating around social media. This is real-time judgment, unfolding live in front of tens of millions. And the decision to be made isn't just whether Shedeur Sanders can keep pace with Pittsburgh, it's whether he's already passed them by. The Browns are no longer a team just hoping for the future. They're building around it. The offensive line is tightening up. Receivers are finally finding rhythm. The defense, stacked with young, rising talent, is keeping games close. And in the center of it all, truly the center, is a rookie who looks more mature, more focused, and more comfortable than anyone expected this early, especially the Steelers. And it's all because of the mentality Shedeur brings into each week. That Christmas Eve practice, that wasn't about film clips. That was about choice. While the rest of the league enjoyed holiday breaks, Sanders suited up, took the field, and proved, without needing to say it, that he's playing a different game, that he knows what's ahead, what's at stake, and how fast this window of opportunity can disappear if you waste it. Now the spotlight isn't optional anymore. He's stepping into it, fully, boldly, right into the stadium of the team who blinked while his franchise doubled down. There will be pressure, there will be mistakes. But this is the story that players dream about, the chance to stare down the critics, the doubters, and maybe even the team that could have shaped your legacy, and prove they were never the ones writing it in the first place. If Shedeur Sanders delivers, the AFC North won't just run through Baltimore or Cincinnati or Pittsburgh anymore. It might run through Cleveland, a place once known only as the graveyard of quarterbacks. Now reborn in silence, grit, and the focused fire of a rookie who never needed the headlines to know he belonged. This isn't just the next game. It's the start of something we might be talking about a decade from now. And if Sanders shows up the way that cold December footage hinted he might, the team that let him slip will spend the next 10 years regretting it.